I'm Rachel Bell, and this is Your Last Meal, the show where celebrities share stories about the foods they love most, and we dig into the history, culture, or science of those meals with experts from around the world. Today on the program, Geraldine DeRuiter, author of the new book, If You Can't Take the Heat, Tales of Food, Feminism, and Fury. Geraldine won a James Beard Award in 2019 for an essay titled, I Made the Pizza Cinnamon Rolls from Mario Batali's Sexual Misconduct Apology Letter. And the essay she wrote about a hilariously bizarre dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant in Italy called Bros went, as she states it, bonkers viral. Poor Geraldine had to endure 2 interviews with me because I am a complete and utter ding-dong who forgot to ask her about her last meal the first time she came over. Thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
I have never forgotten to ask someone the main question of the show.
I think it's a testament to my distracting charm.
I think so too.
Yeah.
This is another pasta episode, and this time we are talking about carbonara with Rome-based cookbook author and culinary guide Katie Parla. Have you ever added garlic to your carbonara? Cream? Peas? You may not have known it, but the entire city of Rome wanted to slap you. But Katie says the, quote, authentic recipe that Romans obsess over isn't actually authentic.
Someone cooked one of the first recipes and she's using like cream and garlic and all these things and pancetta instead of guanciale. Romans lost their minds. Everybody wanted to burn a car in reaction. But like, that's simply following a 70-year-old reference to the very dish that we're appreciating today. I think that's hilarious. People get real mad about history.
That's all coming up later in the show. But first, my conversation, or rather, conversations with Geraldine DeRuiter. Well, let's start with the first chapter where you start out by saying, you know, everybody has all these romanticized stories of how their love of food began, and
Yes.
people get interviewed as food writers or chefs. What is your first memory? And, you know, it's always tugging on my Nona's apron
Oh,
and
so beautiful. And then
out
she
in the
would,
garden of Tuscany.
yes, and then she hands me a bit of tomatoes that she got
Still
an
warm
Italian.
from the sun.
Yes, I don't know why I suddenly got an Italian accent. No, mine is toothpaste.
Yeah, you ate some toothpaste.
Yep, a lot. I ate a lot of toothpaste. I was about 3 years old, and my absolute favorite thing was to abscond with the toothpaste tube and just go to town on that sucker.
Just squirt it in your mouth.
Oh, just straight from the tube. Just loved that thing. And to this day, my husband's like, well, you do enjoy mint.
Yeah, you did.
You asked me what kind of tea I wanted, and I said I wanted
You wanted mint.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I should have offered you a little squirt of toothpaste in it.
It is
Think about
rude,
it.
but don't worry, I brought my own.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
So what that narrative revealed is what I really wanted to eat was the things that, I wasn't allowed to.
Yes. What were some of the other weird things you ate?
I definitely drank water from a vase in which flowers had just been relieved. And I was like, this tastes weird, but whatever. I ate Reese's peanut butter cups with the paper around it.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, because I was like, this is dark chocolate. No.
I have a very specific memory of sitting in the back of my friend's mom's VW Bug. We were like waiting for her to come out of the house and take us somewhere. I was probably 4 or 5.
Uh-huh.
And I remember the details so much. Like the inside of the car was this white fake leather with all those like tiny holes punched into it. And I picked up a cigarette butt from the floor and ate it.
Yeah.
So we probably would have been friends. We probably would have had some wonderful meals together.
And we would have died before the age of 7.
Yes, we would have. Yeah. All right. So how would you describe your career?
I know that some desserts have been derived from the chef dropping the dessert. And I think my career is from me dropping a proper writing career on the floor and then picking it up and reassembling it. So that's how I would describe it.
Yeah. Well, your career totally shifted when you got laid off from a job, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was laid off in 2008, along with basically everyone I knew. We got acquired. I was at a small game company in Seattle. It's a poorly kept secret. So I was at Cranium, and I was in my late 20s, did not know what I was going to do next. And my husband gave me a piece of advice, which kind of has haunted and guided me through the next decade and a half. And it was just keep writing.
And it worked out.
It did. Oh, who knew? Essentially, yeah, I get into fights with male celebrity chefs is basically my whole MO now.
So did that start with Mario Batali?
It did. It was never my intent. I've never considered myself a food writer. It all kind of happened by accident. To catch people up if they're unfamiliar, I think it was late 2017. Is that possible? Mario Batali had sent out a newsletter with an apology for allegations that had just come out. And the allegations turned out to be far worse than what the initial ones were. He settled several lawsuits. The criminal charges ended up being dropped. They were big, they were ugly. You can look them up. He sends out an apology in his newsletter and includes a recipe for, drum roll,
cinnamon rolls.
And everyone kind of loses their minds.
Like, you could have left the recipe out and just send the apology.
Right. Did not need to be crammed in there along with a couple recipes. Important factor, nobody accepts my pitches. I would pitch to travel magazines, I'd pitch to the occasional food magazine, and nobody really wanted my work. So I decided to publish it on my own site. I decided to make these cinnamon rolls. One of the things that I noticed just by looking at the recipe is this was not a good recipe, like at all. It's pizza dough cinnamon rolls. Pizza dough doesn't make for a good cinnamon roll.
Well, it's a totally different texture. I
Absolutely.
mean, yeah, you want these like tender cinnamon rolls, and pizza dough is supposed to be chewy and crusty.
Yeah. And cinnamon rolls tend to be kind of more of a brioche. So I proceeded to make the worst cinnamon rolls of my life. They were like these dense little rocks.
But Geraldine didn't make the cinnamon rolls because she was in the mood for a sweet treat.
We were kind of right in the middle of the Me Too movement. And so at this point, it's now January 2018. So I wrote about the cinnamon rolls and I interwove some of my personal experiences and then things that were happening kind of in the broader social narrative about what was happening into the post. I did not intend for this post to go bonkers viral, but then it was getting retweeted by Pete Wells, who is the food critic for the New York Times. Martha Stewart picked it up. At some point, the New York Times referred to my writing, and I mentioned this a lot, as dark and hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, so it went, official technical term is bonkers viral.
This essay is in the book, along with many other humorous stories that touch on feminism, food, or both. Let's talk about one more piece that you wrote that, has this intersection of food and feminism that you're known for, which is the clear pumpkin pie that you baked for Thanksgiving. For people who haven't seen it, it is a homemade pie crust.
Yeah.
And then you made the actual filling with gelatin and this super, super strong pumpkin essence.
It's like a pumpkin pie concentrate.
So it's totally clear and it looks really cool. You cut a slice of it and it has the exact same shape as a slice of pie, but it's like this jiggly clear jello.
Yeah.
She made the pie to make a statement. The clear pumpkin pie is a symbol of all the invisible labor that women do in their homes.
We don't really appreciate how much happens within the home that, is not compensated and is not acknowledged. If that suddenly stopped happening, society would grind to a halt.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And as women have been able to take on more responsibility, like been allowed to work outside of the home, their obligations within the home did not stop. The majority of home cooking, particularly in heteronormative relationships, and this holds true whether you are married or not, and whether you have children or not, the vast majority of all of that cooking and shopping falls to women.
Yeah.
So meal prep, cleanup afterward. I think it averages to around 70 to 75% of all of it falls to women.
Yeah.
Around the holidays, when the cooking and hosting obligations increase, that all falls to women as well.
Yeah, it intensifies.
Yep, it all intensifies. So I wrote this around Thanksgiving to kind of discuss all of this.
My favorite comment that I saw on your blog was this guy that said, "It's broads like this who make me want to keep on being a misogynist." After the break, Geraldine shares her last meal, and spoiler alert, we'll be talking about Rome's most famous pasta. Thank you for coming back. I have never forgotten to ask someone the main question of the show.
I think it's a testament to my distracting charm.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like we went on a date and then I like accidentally left my sweater at your house so that I'd have to come back and get it. I woke up one morning like a week later and that was my first thought was, I don't think I asked her last meal.
So it doesn't hit me in the morning. It hits me as I'm trying to fall asleep. I'm like, and this just happened to me.
This is where Geraldine and I proceed to go on a 5-minute tangent, which is pretty fun. And if you want to hear some of it, stick around for the bloopers at the end of the show. Doesn't this feel like I'm going to forget to ask you the question again?
It does, again, because of my disarming charm.
Exactly.
That's what I'm going with.
Okay, so the question that I didn't ask you is...
I have to go.
Oh my God, are you late? I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm so...
It would be great if you forgot to record and we just...
And it just wasn't.
And it just didn't, yeah.
Would you come back a third time?
I would, you know what? I'll leave my sweater here on accident. I'm just going to take off my coat now.
Okay, I'm going to ask you now.
Okay.
And you've had extra time to think about it.
I have not. Yeah,
Okay.
no, so it's going to be fresh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What would your last meal be?
Ooh, it's definitely got to be pasta without question. I don't care if this is a basic answer, but I think I want my husband's carbonara.
That's not basic at all.
Okay.
My favorite last meals is when it connects a family member or a spouse or something because I think it's so sweet.
Yeah.
So he makes the best one.
So my grandmother would make me, carbonara was my favorite thing as a kid. So my mom's from Rome. Carbonara is a Roman dish, and it's a pretty modern Roman dish. And there's some rumors that it was possibly American soldiers who brought it because they had eggs and bacon, and that's where it came from. And then Italians started using guanciale instead of bacon. But basically, it's a pasta, and if you haven't had it, it's a very simple pasta, and it's made with guanciale, which is cured pig jowl, and eggs, and that's the sauce. And my grandmother would make it. I taught my husband to make it, and then he went to the extreme and makes it better than anyone in my family.
And was your grandma still living in Italy when she would make it for you?
No. So she came over, and my mom came over to America right before I was born, and my grandparents came along with her.
Okay.
So I was like the first one born here. So I've obviously like had it in Italy, and I think my husband's might be better. Like it's rare that I've had one that's comparable to his. It's so good. He spent years perfecting it, and it is, it's incredible. We went to a restaurant and I was like, oh, this carbonara isn't as good as yours. And he said something which blew me away because my husband is quite a inherently rather self-critical, modest person. And he said, yeah. And I was like, oh, he agrees. How shocking.
So what makes it so good? It's a very simple pasta. So
It is.
sometimes it comes down to technique.
It is. And it's totally technique. So he uses kind of a double boiler technique. So he takes a bowl, puts it over boiling water, puts the eggs in there, and he uses a higher ratio of yolk to egg white.
Okay.
And he kind of par cooks them. So he doesn't let them scramble, but he slowly cooks them so they thicken a little bit over that. And then he takes the guanciale and he crisps it up, and then he removes that from the oil so it stays crispy, and he adds that at the end.
Okay,
so
smart.
So it doesn't get like that soggy kind of ham texture within there. So it's definitely, I mean, like when I say it comes down to technique, it's really his technique. He never lets the eggs scramble, which happens a lot with carbonara. So it's got like this velvety kind of sauce, and it's beautiful.
Is that all that it is? Is it just egg for the sauce?
It is egg for the sauce, a little bit of pasta water, some oil, like the fat from the guanciale. Some people put garlic. There's an argument that that's not traditional. He puts onions, which is what my grandmother did. There's people who will argue that onions aren't traditional. I think they are.
Sauteed onions?
Yeah, like sauteed onions in with the guanciale. Okay. So I think he puts onions. Now I'm questioning it. Now I'm questioning my reality. My grandmother put onions, and I put onions. But now I think my husband doesn't put onions, and I imagined that. So it might not be onions in his carbonara.
Do you even know each other?
Where am I?
This is the beauty, though. You're still discovering each other after all these years.
Now that I think about it, he might not even put onion in his.
What kind of pasta does he use?
He uses like a longer, thicker spaghetti, and it tends to be by Benedetto Cavalieri, which is kind of like a fancy dried pasta, and it is great. Highly recommend. And it's a great, like, if you're looking for like a fancy gift to get someone, get them that pasta.
Okay.
Yeah.
And no Parmesan cheese?
Nope, definitely puts Parmesan.
Okay.
Yep.
And is that emulsified into the sauce or just sprinkled?
No,
okay.
Emulsified into the sauce.
Is that your whole last meal, just having this pasta?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm making my husband cook me my last meal, which is sort of sad, but beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my last meal, honey. You're making it. So I think I would make him do the salt aged steak that he does, which is the Serious Eats recipe. So you take steak and you salt it, and then you leave it in your fridge for up to 4 days. You've done this.
Never for 4 days, but yeah.
And what this does is it basically takes the moisture off of the steak, which it sounds like you know, because of the primary amount of energy when you're cooking a steak goes to removing that sort of exterior moisture.
Okay, so steak and carbonara.
Yep. I think I want like a nice radicchio kind of endive-y, beautiful salad to go with that. Something light and kind of tangy. Maybe have some apples and Parmesan in there. I think that would be nice.
I can't hear radicchio without thinking of Perfect Strangers. I always think, don't be radicchio.
Oh, I don't remember that. I did watch it, but I don't remember.
Balky's accent, he'd always say, don't be ridiculous. Cousin Larry Appleton.
Yeah. I had the immense pleasure of seeing the actor who played Cousin Larry in a play on Broadway.
Really?
With Steve Guttenberg.
Wow.
Yeah. And also, her name is escaping me. I think it's Nancy Cartwright. She does the voice of Marge Simpson.
Yeah, that sounds right. Or some Simpsons voice.
Yeah. And they were all in a play together.
What a motley crew.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Motley Crew actually did the music for the play.
Yeah, they did. It was phenomenal. Sorry, that was a big non sequitur.
No, that's okay. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, I haven't even talked about dessert, have I?
Ask, because you love dessert.
I do love dessert. I think I would make a cake. I love a citrus cake.
Me too.
We were talking about this the other night. My husband and I were talking about my top 5 desserts and extraordinary desserts in San Diego. If you have not been, used to do, and I don't know if they still do, used to do a lemon meringue cake. This tart lemon cake, and then it had this core of lemon curd.
Ooh.
And then it had meringue on top that had been toasted.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. It's over the top. Like they put flowers and it's gorgeous. It feels like something for Instagram reel.
Yeah. Like you're buying yourself like a quinceañera cake.
Yes.
Just for you.
It's so beautiful.
Would you say it's extraordinary?
I mean, I do think they live up to the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
And what would you like to drink?
I'm not a drinker, as you know. So I do think I would task, the husband makes a good mocktail, sort of like a light, herbaceous take on a mojito.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
It would go good with the lemony cake too.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of richness in this, and I think that would kind of brighten things up a bit.
I always am just hoping someone's gonna want a glass of milk because I kind of would as a part of mine. And like I do drink, but I'm like I kind of like milk with dinner.
Look, I almost said, have you ever made the Hershey's chocolate cake?
No.
The Hershey's chocolate cake off of their website. It's also, I think, on the back of their cocoa powder. It's their signature chocolate cake. It's a 1-bowl chocolate cake. It is the best chocolate cake I've ever made. Yeah. I think it's with their signature frosting. I've made it for, I can't even tell you, countless birthdays. And it's one of those cakes where you have to add a cup of boiling water. Have you had that?
Yeah. Okay. That feels very like Great Depression style.
Yeah. And honestly, that like a slice of that cake with a cold glass of milk.
Yes. Yeah. The club of adults who like milk is very small. I feel like everyone hates milk now. I'm like, no, I like it.
I love milk. I just can't. I'll.
Yeah, maybe not before a podcast.
Yeah, not the best thing.
For her last meal, Geraldine DeRuiter wants lemon meringue cake, a radicchio and endive salad, and her husband's homemade salt-aged steak and carbonara. If you ask a Roman what goes into a carbonara sauce, they will say these ingredients and these ingredients only: eggs, guanciale, pecorino, and black pepper. Anything else is blasphemy. But Katie Parla, a cookbook author and culinary guide who has lived a deep culinary-centered life in Rome for 21 years and was on the Tom Papa episode talking about fettuccine alfredo, says the recipes most shunned by Italians are actually closest to the original.
They get so wild, particularly if you say, hey, friends, ciao amici, here are some of the ingredients that were included in the first published recipes of your favorite dish: Gruyere, alliums, Parmesan, pancetta. Like, this is the most famous Roman dish. But the first sort of documented mentions of it are in the 50s, 1950s, not like when the emperors were around, the original 50s. And so it's a relatively recent dish that has, over the course of the decades, changed. Everyone will tell you their like great-grandma made carbonara. There's no evidence of that.
Wait, Gruyere?
Gruyere is coming from Switzerland, right? We don't acknowledge other nations' food products here, so apologies for my ignorance. France, we don't know her. Switzerland, who's she? There are lots of international recipes. And I think because Italy also kind of casts itself as a very like food patriotism-driven place, they suggest that their cuisines, and I use the plural because there are many cuisines in this country, are somehow pure and not the product of importing ingredients from elsewhere, whereas clearly almost everything that we eat in this country comes from somewhere else. Shout out to Asia and the Americas and North Africa for hooking us up with some bomb ingredients.
Yeah, like namely tomatoes.
Got your tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, artichokes, all the citrus. Those are coming from both the Americas and Asia, entering Italy in phases. Some in the 9th century, some in the 16th century, some in the 17th. And so what we eat today in Rome or any other city is informed by this like wonderful globalization and cross-contamination of ingredients and techniques.
As for the history of carbonara, there are many stories and speculations.
Survey 10 Romans, 9 out of 10 will tell you that Americans during like the liberation were hanging around in Rome. They had bacon and powdered eggs in their K rations. And someone in Trastevere was clever enough to put those things together and make a dish called carbonara. 1 out of 10 people will say it was a dish invented by the charcoal makers, and the black pepper represents the charcoal. The name itself, carbonara, is really evoking charcoal makers and people working with like carbon type things. But it's also the name of a secret society in Naples. And in Naples, you have one of the most rich, sophisticated cuisines, with a lot of influences from everywhere. And so some also say like there's a tradition of a carbonara egg and cheese combo in pastas dating back several hundred years in Naples. All this to say, no one really knows, but it's really fun to fight over what the real story is.
The last one you mentioned is especially relevant to this show as far as what I read, because it said that that secret society would feed this carbonara to people as their last meal before they were beheaded.
I mean, feels right. A lot of people say it's their death row meal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's happening here right now on the show. Um, it feels like, you're poking a little fun at Italians for fighting over wanting this quote authentic recipe for carbonara. Do you feel the same as them? Or since you know the history and all these different versions, are you okay with different iterations of carbonara?
No, I'm not okay with it.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about a cauliflower carbonara where smoked cauliflower is in place of the pork. I don't want to hear about it. I want to know about it, and I don't want you to use carbonara for it. Pick a different name. Look, if you have to have carbonara in the way that you grew up and you're from, I don't know, like literally any American town, and you need to put cream and ham cubes instead of guanciale and peas, like, do you? I don't have a problem with that version because there was so much exchange going on between Italy and the US, and things just get adapted in the US. But if you're in Italy and you're serving me something that has nothing to do with the guanciale, pecorino, black pepper, and pasta-based thing, no.
You're one of them.
Yeah. I'll get mad. I'll raise a stink. I will tell you what's on my mind. But so will everyone else around.
Does that mean if you're at a restaurant and this happens, how will you raise a stink? Will you call the server over?
Let me think the last time I did it. Oh, yeah, it was definitely like some smoked, I forget what like meat substitute it was. And I was like, can we not do this? But everyone actually was really offended that I said anything. So I stopped it right there.
Can't win either way.
Yeah.
After the break, the absolute best way to eat popcorn. You mentioned that you eat popcorn 4 times a week.
Yes.
I hear this a lot from women. Why do women eat popcorn so much? I never hear a man saying, I had popcorn for dinner. What is this?
I don't eat popcorn for dinner. For clarification, I like dinner for dinner, but I like popcorn after dinner. I like it as a snack. And I'm very particular about my popcorn.
Ooh, tell me more, because I am too.
Okay. So I tend to, and for people who don't know, if you take a brown paper bag, like a lunch sack, and you pour popcorn kernels in it, and you seal up the top, and then you just put it in the microwave, those kernels will pop the same way a bag of microwave popcorn will pop.
Whoa, so you're just air popping in
You're
there.
just air popping.
That is an amazing tip, actually.
Yeah. So I do that. Then I melt butter. Melting butter in the microwave always explodes.
Yes,
so
it's
yes.
worse.
So you can change your microwave power settings when you're melting butter. And if you lower the settings, yes, I'm here for all. These are the cooking tips, friends.
I know. I love that we've gone into this like 80s microwave cooking
Yes.
segment, which
Yeah.
we've done on this show before, I have to say.
Yes, you can change. So I lower the intensity to about a 4, and then you just melt the butter.
Okay.
I pour that over the popcorn, which I bet you saw that part coming. I also buy a very specific popcorn salt, so it's super fine grain.
Yeah.
Or if I have it, I use truffle salt.
Yes, I love that. That's my favorite too. I don't care how many people talk about like truffle oil is fake.
I
and truffle
don't
salt.
care.
I don't care.
I don't care. It
I don't
tastes
care at
great.
all.
I don't care.
I don't care either.
I don't care if it makes me basic. I
No.
don't care. I don't like it. I don't care.
It's so good.
I don't care. It's delicious. And then I realize that this is the most West Coast Seattle thing I'm ever
I know
going
what
to
you're
say.
gonna say.
You know,
Should we say it at the same time?
1, 2, 3. Nutritional yeast.
Oh yeah, that's
okay,
what I meant.
same
Nutritional.
thing,
Yeah, same thing. Yeah,
yes. Yes, we use nutritional yeast. It tastes. Should we get the 1, 2, 3 down?
I know. Let's maybe do it. Yeah, I meant nutritional yeast.
Okay,
Okay, let's
ready?
do it. Okay, let's do it. Count of 3.
1, 2, 3. Nutritional yeast.
Oh,
Yay!
And like, I refuse to call it nooch, though. I don't do
Do
that.
people call it
They
nooch?
call it. I even see it like in recipes.
That's
sometimes.
completely unacceptable.
I don't want it. I do like an abbreviation, but not in this case.
No, that's not okay. And that makes me deeply uncomfortable.
Can I tell you my popcorn specificity that I'm hoping maybe you could add to your routine? Because you could continue everything you're doing, but change this one thing.
Okay.
So several years ago, maybe it was at the farmer's market, and they had, oh God, I just blanked. What is it called? Like the sweet and salty popcorn.
Kettle corn.
Kettle corn. And I was thinking, God, the shape of kettle corn is so good. It's so round and it's so puffy. My home popcorn isn't like this. And so I asked the vendor the next time and she said, oh, well, there's different kinds of popcorn.
Right.
This is called mushroom popcorn. And then the kind that you usually get is called butterfly popcorn. It's not as round. And so I started ordering it online and it changes the whole experience. It's like such a better crunch and in your mouth, it's like so fluffy. And you know what I'm talking about, that round compared to the kind that's more like amoeba-y kind of shaped. I will never go back. I spend a little more money. It's kind of annoying to get it online because I don't do much online shopping, but it's so worth it.
Mushroom popcorn.
Yes, mushroom popcorn.
Doo, 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 doo. This is so, I did not know. Okay.
Actually, let me pop some right now.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm screaming.
Do you have time?
Yes.
Can we take? Okay.
Do I have time for popcorn?
Do you notice the difference in how it looks?
It looks, so you're absolutely right. It looks like kettle corn. It's global. It's little globes.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I'm shocked. You have just blown my mind because I knew there were different varietals, but I didn't think about there were different varietals of popping corn that would pop differently. So this is called mushroom popcorn. Mm-hmm. It's so cute.
Try it. Yeah, it changed. If you're going to eat popcorn 4 days a week, you deserve
I deserve better.
Global popcorn in this global economy.
This is fantastic. I am so happy right now.
I have to tell you, I think this is the first time since the pandemic that I've done an interview in person for the show. Like I've done some of the side angles, but not had like my main guest. So it's so fun to get to eat popcorn together too.
It's the new Breaking Bread.
Yeah, Breaking Corn.
Exactly.
I love that show.
It's such a good show.
I guess I shouldn't eat into the mic. These sounds don't bother me, but sorry everyone with misophonia. And that was Geraldine DeRuiter's last meal. Geraldine, thank you so much for coming to my house and eating popcorn at the table with my cat.
Thank you. I will be back every day this week to do
perfect.
this.
Yeah. I'll make your bed up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
What an innocent time when Geraldine had only come over to my house once and didn't know she actually would be back. Make sure and pick up her book, If You Can't Take the Heat, Tales of Food, Feminism, and Fury. And check out her award-winning blog, The Everywhereist. Time magazine called it consistently clever. Thanks to Katie Parla. If you have a trip to Rome planned, you can hire Katie to give you a food tour of the city. Katie knows where all the best places to eat are, and honestly, it makes me want to book a trip just so I can take a personalized tour with her. She also has cookbooks and a podcast called Gola. And you can find links to all this stuff in the show notes. Your Last Meal is a product of Seattle's Cascade PBS. This episode was produced with Isaac Kaplan-Wollner, who also mixed and mastered it. And I created Your Last Meal and hosted and co-produced this episode. Original theme music by Prom Queen. Oh, and tune in next Thursday to hear more with Geraldine on The Leftovers. Same time, same place. If you are brand new to the show, welcome. Please subscribe, tell a friend, leave us a little message, click out 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. All of this sounds like we are desperate for your love, but it actually means something. The more reviews the show gets, the more listeners the show gets, and the larger the chance that I get to keep making it. Thank you. You can follow along on Instagram, Hello Rachel Bell. I also have a Substack newsletter, rachelbell.substack.com. And if you want to send me a message, go to yourlastmealpodcast.com. I'm Rachel Bell, and this is Your Last Meal.
I respond to Gretchen and Gertrude
You
and.
kind of look like a Gretchen.
Okay, that's rude.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Do you not like that name?
No, it's fine. It's just a long-standing joke between me and some friends.
Okay.
They're like, Gretchen. And I'm like, no.
Well, the most popular girl in my middle school's name was Gretchen. And when she ran for student body president,
Yeah.
all the cool girls would flip their hair. And I'll never forget this. Gretchen made a video that was played in all the homerooms for her like big vote for me campaign. And all her friends in the video said, you know the way she flips her hair. And she won on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you have like good Gretchen flipping hair.
Wow. She made Gretch happen.
She
did. Yeah.
She could have used that slogan.
She really should have. I mean, it would have predated Mean Girls, but Italians have 1,000 words for pasta.
Really?
No, I mean, it's pasta. And it actually also means dough. So if you're like, you'll say the pasta for the pizza.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You know, people sometimes have in their marriages like, this is my one person. This is my get out of jail free.
No,
Who would yours be?
A 1984 Bruce Springsteen.
You knew right away.
Yep.
Wow.
Comes up a lot.
Oh, it does?
Yes. 1984 Bruce Springsteen comes up a
I guess
lot.
if you've been married 20 years like you are, you have that on the tip of your brain.
Oh, yeah. We talk a lot. His is, I believe, Salma Hayek.